Hello everybody, Joseph Smith with Travel Talks here. I get a question a lot of times, how often do travelers get audited? And it's a good question, and it's a very hard one to answer, but I'll take a stab at it here. Back in the 2010s, we had a lot of audits of healthcare staffing firms. I could probably count over 30 that I'm aware of, but in that world, oftentimes the numbers are actually higher because they're not saying anything about it. They just deal with it internally or have a settlement. But that is not the first time that has happened. So historically, we are working in an industry in healthcare staffing that has been under a lot of scrutiny with the Internal Revenue Service, Department of Labor, and to a lesser extent, state revenue agencies. So on one hand, an answer to that question is we're working in a highly audited industry, but how does that work its way down to the individual traveler? Well, one of the things that happened during that series of audits was that the IRS sought evidence. And how do they get evidence? They got evidence through the contracts that they procured during actual traveler audits. But another way in which they gathered that evidence was what I call a soft audit. A lot of travelers have had their accounts reviewed without even knowing anything about it because the IRS didn't take action. But they used the data that they had as an evidence building effort before they went to the agencies. So that again says, well, we may not know the percentages when it comes to audits of travelers, but we do know that there is a lot of activity involved in procuring data, perhaps from traveler tax returns. Another influence on this is the fact that in the last decade, we've seen the ranks of exam agents in the IRS dwindle because of a lack of funding. So they have relied heavily on the data in which they had procured and gathered over the years of tax returns and maybe in their corporate audits. But now we have a lot of new hires, if you've been watching the news. Not every one of them are going to be taking over any new tasks because there are so many IRS employees leaving. They're going to replace those that are leaving and hopefully be able to replenish the areas of staffing which are critical. What does that mean for the future? Because historically healthcare staffing has been a highly audited industry, you may see the percentages of traveler audits increase, and especially after 2026, when employee job expense deductions return to the stage since they have been absent since 2018. Whatever the percentages, you want to be on the right side of this. That's why we're here. That's why we try to make your tax situation as simple as possible.